China is in the midst of a trade war with the U.S. Last month, Trump imposed tariffs on all Chinese imports. And since then, Beijing has retaliated with countermeasures that place duties on coal, oil, gas, and a variety of American goods. My next guest says while these tariffs will hurt China in the short term, in the long run, Trump is actually helping President Xi Jinping advance his plan for a China-centric world. So to talk about all of that, I'm now joined by Steve Tsang. He is the director of the China Institute at the School of Oriental and African Studies at the University of London. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Pleasure.
So explain what you mean here. Why do you think Trump's actions are actually helping China right now?
Well, it is helping China because Xi Jinping has developed a global strategy, and that global strategy is to make China the center of the world. It does mean, in a sense, China replacing the United States as the most important, preeminent power in the world. But it's not replacing the United States on American terms. China intends to do it on Chinese terms, which essentially means infiltrating and capturing from within the liberal international order and change the way how it functions to make it Sino-centric. Donald Trump has done more to undermine the current liberal international order than everything that China and Russia had managed to do in the entirety of the Cold War.
What would that look like if China does become a major global power? What would that mean for the world? What would it mean for Canada?
Well, what China's under Xi Jinping would like is a world order in which every other country admires and respects China and voluntarily chooses to embrace China's leadership in the world. So it will be a world order that is very safe for autocracies, but it will be very uncomfortable for democracies, because democracies do not follow the way of doing things in China or by China, and therefore it will not be comfortable for democracies.
Let's talk about China's influence and power. We know that it has grown in the global south, but what does it need to do to make inroads within the Western countries?
Well, making inroads in the Western country has been something that China has tried to do. So the minute that Donald Trump indicated that he wants to take Greenland, for example, the Chinese diplomats were working very hard in European capitals in order to get them on side, but they were not successful in doing so. In the way how Donald Trump bullies his America's allies, whether it's Canada or European countries, that is undermining the solidarity of the democratic West, providing scope for China to basically present the case that America isn't your real friend. We may not be your real friend, but we support you playing a prominent role in international affairs. This is divide and rule.
Looking at the perspective of the United States, why do you think the Trump administration doesn't see this pivot to China even happening?
Well, I think the Make America Great Again people are somewhat ideological in their approach. They see things through their own lenses. They don't really bother too much to understand what other people are thinking, enemies or allies, and fundamentally don't give much of a damn about what the others think. So they don't really see or understand or care to understand what the Chinese global strategy under Xi Jinping is, and therefore they do not understand they are giving Xi Jinping a big helping hand.
Canada and China have had some tense relations recently. We're also involved in a trade war right now. But do you think Western countries, including Canada, should be approaching how they view China and rethinking their trade strategy with China?
I think we need to separate two things. One, China is an important country And whether China is a friend or not, we must engage with China. Otherwise, we end up in a war with China, and that's something we don't want. The second thing we have to bear in mind is that at the moment, we are still seeing in the United States a Trump administration which is going in a direction very different from the general direction of travel the United States had embarked on at the end of the Second World War. So we need to, on the one hand, be able to function without the United States as a partner in the next 3.5 years, but we should also try to re-engage with the United States after Trump. The importance of the liberal international order does require Canada, Europe, and other democracies to get the United States on side.
Steve Tsang, thank you so much for your time and your insight this morning. Steve Tsang is the director at the China Institute at the School of Oriental and African Studies at the University of London.